been quite the week in politics here in Quebec and in Ottawa. The Liberals are in trouble, so is the CAQ, and now the PQ is in trouble too. Meanwhile, in Ottawa, a new minister from Montreal has had a rocky few days, to say the least. David Heurtel joins us. Hi, David. So, David, before we get to all that, I want to ask you about the doctors and what the government is going to do about the doctors, because the talks just broke down with the general practitioners, and they seem very upset. So what is the government going to do with this?
Well, the government is a lame duck. The polls say it. The doctors have the public with them. The Quebecers are with the doctors. The public has spoken. There's just over a week left in the National Assembly session. So the government is stuck. So expect more identity talk from François Legault.
Yeah, but the law kicks in January 1. Doctors are saying they're leaving. They're just going to just leave it like that?
Well, no, there are going to be challenges in the courts, which a lot of lawyers say has a lot of validity. And also, they're going to continue.
David, but in the meantime,
well, in the meantime, doctors are leaving. I mean, no, but what can we do? So it's a game of chicken, and the doctors have decided that with the public support that they now enjoy, they can continue this game of chicken with the government, and we'll see who'll blink next. But I think the doctors are in it for the long haul here.
Yeah, because a friend of mine said to me the other day, it's no longer Médecins Sans Frontières, it's going to be Frontières Sans Médecins, which is not
exactly.
good.
Exactly, yeah. And we're going to start getting more and more of these stories, and people getting surgeries postponed and critical care postponed because doctors are leaving or retiring early.
Yeah. Okay, so you talked about identity talk. So the new minister in charge of official languages, Marc Miller, now he said he was tired of the language debate being politicized in Quebec. Right? Mm-hmm. But the reaction from the premier, from the leader of the PQ, I mean, it came quickly, but it was so over the top. It was really extreme language, don't you think?
Very extreme, and I think it was kind of scarred. Marc Miller is a calculated guy. He's not prone to doing these types of declarations. I think this was calculated, actually, to change the conversation after the Guilbeault debacle from last week. And so I really think if you take, for example, Mélanie Joly's comments on an independent Quebec, giving Quebec to Trump a few weeks ago, there seems to be a real strategy. These are not accidents, Mitsumi. And it got exactly what was hoped for, which is an overreaction by François Legault. But that doesn't really matter because in the polls right now, Quebec 125, Philippe J. Fournier's site, is showing today the CAQ, if an election were held tomorrow, with 0 seats, Mitsumi. But with Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, the last couple of days, first of all, we're no longer talking about Pablo Rodriguez's problems. And PSPP has doubled down today. I don't know if you had time this afternoon. Not only is he saying, after he said that the culture industry is lacking intellectual probity and is somehow not
disloyal, they said.
Really Quebecers and everything. Now he's saying that researchers, scientists who are getting federal grants, their impartiality is in doubt. He's saying that Radio-Canada people, because they're funded, they got an extra $150 million in the last budget, are somehow not impartial. He's going off the deep end, but these are yet another in a long series of examples, Anglos, immigrants, people who are talking about the fact that French may not be in such severe shape as we thought. There are a lot of people, academics, Francophone intellectuals, that are saying, Mitsumi, it's not that bad. But there seems to be this very dangerous slant, Mitsumi. This is serious, I think, where Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon is saying you have to think a certain way to be a proper Quebecer, and that's really dangerous.
But, I like to think, David, that the Quebecers overall in general look at Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon and say this is a little extreme, because there were people questioning his character, saying if this is what he's like, when he's not even the official opposition, what is he going to be like if he becomes premier?
And I think this is really serious questions that there were rumblings for the past few months. There have been some statements that he made, but now these 3-4 last statements that he's made over the last few days are really turning a lot of heads in Francophone Quebec. And if the Liberals and Pablo Rodriguez, Paul would always talk about this blue book and the 10 chapters on what an independent Quebec would look like. If only Pablo Rodriguez could now focus on what Quebecers want governments to focus on, which is affordability, healthcare, and education. If he could come out with a red book and say, here are 10 concrete actions that could help you today, he could flip the script. Because in the polls, very interesting in the polls, Mitsumi, the shift in support towards the PQ in the last Léger and the last Palace polls, it's exactly the loss of the Liberal support. So that means these are not hardcore sovereignists coming home. These are people that are willing to come back to the Liberals. So there's a big opportunity for Pablo Rodriguez if he gets to work right now and throughout the holidays. Don't take a break. Use the media downtime to work hard on what Quebecers want focus on, which is mainly affordability.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, David.
Take care, Mitsumi.